If you want to be a photographer, filmmaker, or any freelancer for this matter, you only need one thing to make a living out of it, and that's clients. Okay, I'm going straight to the point. The first thing you need is good clients. I think it's very key to understand what is a good client. That comes with experience, getting to know yourself and getting to know what are your boundaries and what are you willing to do and what are you not willing to do. So firstly, I would highly suggest to reflect on yourself, on your brand, what values are your core values, so that you can actually build the whole brand, and so that will help you nurture the right client relationship in the future. Secondly, they are usually pretty understanding on your situation, on the rest of the projects you are managing, and they try to get adjusted to, as much as they can, of course, to your schedule as well. And thirdly, they know how budgeting works, they know what are the prices, and they usually don't try to fight those back as much as other kind of clients. Something that I've realized lately is that most of my good clients, or quote unquote good clients, the ones that I have long-term relationships with, they usually have already been freelancers before, and they know what are my pains, and so they try to avoid these pains. So once we've gotten a good client, what should we do to nurture this relationship and to make it as long-term as we can or as we want? Well, first of all, we need to understand what their brand is. We need to surpass this photographer, videographer position to make sense of what is it they are doing, what are their values, how do they communicate, what is their visual style, what are their common practices when it comes to their contractors. I usually try to understand this whole picture so that I can best give my service to them. Companies, since they are made out of people, they all have their specific needs, their specific values that they want to portray to the rest. So make sure you understand what are these things that tick them and make them really happy, and double down on that path so that they are happy with you, that you're happy with them, and that everybody has an amazing collaboration that they want to keep on going to. The second thing, and probably the biggest one, is communication. That's the channel that will help you solve the problems, that will help you get paid, that will help you understand what is it happening, what is not happening. And so try to be as honest and open as possible, but at the same time, try not to be annoying. Try not to report every single tiny problem that comes up. If you can solve it yourself, try to solve it yourself. Filmmakers and photographers and everybody that's freelancing is somehow and somewhat solving problems. And if there's no other way than calling the client, then do, and try to be as transparent as possible and be proactive in those problems so that they see that the project matters to you and they will keep counting on you. And so that takes me to the third point, which is trust. If I am able to communicate properly, if I'm able to be honest and open on my desires, on my expectations, try to listen and understand what are their pains, then I will be able to build trust that will for sure strengthen the relationship with them. But something to do is to show them previous work, to show them success stories, other relationships that you had be able to maintain for a long time, other clients. That will ultimately show them that you have previously built relationships with other people, and that's social proof, and that is the biggest trust builder ever If somebody tells you, then you usually take their word for it, and then trust is built. Probably the most crucial point of all of them is providing value to them. You need to understand, you need to build trust, but ultimately what's going to tie everything together is going to be providing value to them and the value they need and they want. If you're able to see through them and to give them what they really need and want, even if they don't know it, that's going to be a game changer for you and your relationship with them. One big selling point for me is to personalize the treatment to the client. Everybody needs to feel special. We are all special, and so we like to be treated as such. So try to see what their preferences are and try to adapt as much as possible. And how do I do that? I usually try to manage the expectations actually before the project starts. I get into a meeting with them and we write a contract with what are the deliverables, what are the deadlines, is there any hard deadline, soft deadlines, what is the budget, what are the payment plans, which is very important. Get your deposits in place and try to get the deposit before you start working. Once we agree on all these things, we get to sign a contract we can refer to if there are any misunderstandings or any conflicts or whatever it is. And if everything goes south, be empathic, be understanding of what the other's position is, try to solve the problems. It's not good for anybody to be blaming, no, you did this, you did that. That's nonsense for me. It only helps to deteriorate the relationship with them. So I try to solve the problems instead of blaming anybody. And that is usually something that takes the issues forward. And most of the times, people appreciate attitudes that are proactive and that are problem solving rather than just finger pointing. All of us like to be heard. We all have an opinion on a lot of different things, and so make space for that. Get feedback sessions. If it already is a regular client, try to get them regularly. Ask them if it's going good, if it's going bad, what is it it's not working for them, and try to get on it as fast as you can. And as we said before, try to be as proactive as you can. These sessions can also be for you to communicate with them things that are not working for you. And in order to do this properly and safely, we need to tell them assertively, not being emotional, what the problems are. Business is business. We're trying to be as objective as we can. And so it is very important that we communicate in that way, which circles back to being a finger pointer or a proactive problem solver. And so we have done everything properly and the client is happy. I am happy working with them. So what now? Well, how do we ensure that this goes on and goes on in time? Well, what I usually do is I'll have a meeting for longer term goals where we will probably talk about what are the key elements they will need in the future or they think they will need in the future, and how will I be able to provide value in those terms. And so the longer you do it, the more you understand what they need, and probably the better you can provide them with your service. So as I said, I try to make the best as I can, which is not always possible because some people are not willing to be adaptive and there's other problems in their minds and you are probably not going to be their priority either, and we need to understand that. So sometimes it's just better to part ways and you do you and I do me. And that's okay as well. That's completely fine. maybe some other time you will be able to connect a bit more and to provide the value they are looking for. Anyway, we have covered quite a lot today. We have talked about what is it a good client, for me at least, that we need to understand, we need to manage the expectations, we need to provide value, and to understand what their journey is going to be looking forward. So thank you so much for watching. If you like this kind of content, you know what to do. There's going to be a lot more content coming up these next weeks. So thank you again for watching, and I hope you have a great week. I'll see you next Sunday.